7. It says 10:15. But it's not acting like we're actually... It says Go Wing Live. There we go. Now we're live. I guess it wanted me to just have it pulled up. All right. Take 2.
Cool.
You're warmed up now. Huskers win 2 in a row. We're excited about it. All right. Technical difficulties are just kind of a tradition around here.
Yeah.
Once again, whisk me away to Garyland. What is it like in Gary's world?
I just told you, man. I just told you I'm not going over it again.
After 2 wins in a row.
What was your panic level in the first half?
I don't think I was panicking. I was just embarrassed. I was just embarrassed.
Did you ever feel like it was coming unraveled? Like, here we go, it's going to be over. Did you have a sense of confidence, or what were you thinking?
I just felt like, wow, the problems still exist. The problems that I thought were gone still exist. This sucks. I guess we're not any better. I guess okay, because you remember last year we beat Northwestern handily, and it was like, hey, we figured it out. We're on the right path, and then we weren't on the right path. That's what I thought this game was.
Yeah. Well, you and I have kept things pretty in perspective, I feel, with living and dying by each game. And the whole, well, we're tied for first in the West and we can win the West. And it's like, yeah, technically those things are true, but keeping reality a big part of the picture, you still have the same talent. You have a lot of things to fix. So like we talked going into this game, I was looking more for, are things changing and evolving culturally? You know what I mean? Are the adults in the room keeping things at a mild mindset, not getting too high when things are going well, not getting too low when things are going bad. And this is like the second week in a row that seemed to play out, which that's what you have to build from. You're not going to all of a sudden get a bunch of 4 and 5 star guys because Frost is gone and Shenander's gone. So you are what you are talent wise. You've got to maximize that, and you've got to start not letting the bottom fall out every time something bad goes wrong. Last week with Indiana, it was that fumble in the end zone for a touchdown. There was some other little things, but then this week it was just like that whole first half. Like they just couldn't get momentum, couldn't get things going. There's some problems that aren't going to be fixed just because you don't have the talent to fix it, in my opinion. But the things that they can fix, they seem to gradually keep doing that. But it's just, to me, it's so much more than the actual gameplay when you keep coming into those close game scenarios. And it's, again, the second week in a row where they pulled it out. So, that's all you can ask for, man.
Take me to your notes. First of all, did you notice, and do you agree with me that Reimer was held on that Vedral touchdown run? First touchdown run of the game.
I don't remember seeing. I remember seeing a lot. The two things that stuck out. Yeah, bring it up. But the two things that stuck out the most to me, officiating wise, was they were calling way too many offensive pass interference calls. I wish they would just let guys play. There doesn't always have to be a flag one way or the other because there's contact or a little bit of hand fighting. Like, let them play. Did one guy impede the other guy's ability to try and get the ball? That should be it. There was a lot of that I didn't like. And I felt like there was a lot of them hitting our guys a half of a second before they touched the ball on a lot of those pass plays, especially Washington. I feel like a lot of times he was getting hit fraction of a second before the ball came in. And, we saw there was multiple bobbled catches for him that he lost. I thought the one was a horrible overturn. Maybe he didn't catch it. Maybe he went out of bounds, whatever, but you called it a completion. And you could never see the ball on any of the replays. So I don't understand how you have enough to overturn it. But the whole play you're talking about, I don't remember seeing that or looking at that.
All right, I'm going to pull it up because I tweeted it out. It did not get as much traction. I think a lot more people were interested in the offensive pass interference, the ridiculous call on Palmer. I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but take a look at this Reimer clip if you can. If it's too small, I can try to make it bigger. But Reimer just gets grabbed, bro. Watch Reimer, outside linebacker, right here. Gets grabbed, gets pulled, can't get around.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how? How did he get free like this? Well, he didn't get free. Yeah. He would have been grabbed by Reimer. And that got them off to the good start. And then right after that, the Trey Palmer intercept, a great big reception, and they call it pass interference. And they were just hand fighting. You see way worse holds than that never get called, or pass interference never get called. Like that was, and then they called it against. To be fair, they called it against Rutgers.
That one was worse.
But it was the exact same thing.
The hard Zogs. I don't think it was the exact same thing. There's more of a push there with it not being a push. I agree with you, but there was more of a push there than there was on the other one. They called that one as well. I don't know. I'm never a fan of the officials. I don't feel like there was a ton of flags grand scheme, but I feel like there could have been next to none. Right. Or, like you're showing with the Reimer one, and there was a couple other holds, and there was one in the fourth quarter. I think we were on a 3rd and 7, and we handed it to Grant, and Ramir Johnson got called for a hold on the top part of the screen. It was off the right edge. Before that, number 9, their defensive, or 98, their defensive tackle, he jumps. He's coming across the line before the ball snap. He's making contact as the ball's coming through, and they don't call that. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I thought was bad both ways, and just overall could have done without some of the ones they did call. But I don't know. I don't feel that the calls really.
They were just bad.
You think it swung it one
they
way
were
or the other?
No, but they were just bad. It was just bad calls, both sides. Just terrible refereeing. It was, it was sad. JP Warlord in the house says, yes, 28 was held. Luke was bear hugged. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just felt like I was being gaslit. I can't believe I still have Scott Frost in this player slideshow. We're gonna have to give him the boot, just like real life. Scott Frost is in our player slideshow. I totally forgot. Let's go back to the chat, though. What's going on, Dion Pryor? What up, Grass? Kirk Kreifels, Romp. We got Blaine, Nintendo, 1998, Nolan, League 2 Mid. Sam Matney says, every Nebraska game I learn and become an expert over a new flag each week. This week's offensive pass interference was the one. Yeah.
Yeah, just let him play, man. I get if a guy can't break on the ball, either side. But other than that, I mean, guys want to play physical, let them play physical. But I don't know, man. What did you think about Hartzog starting over Hill?
I was excited. I mean, I think a switch up is necessary. Tommy Hill is one of those situations where you get 4 stars, and you feel like you stole him from ASU, and you're like, all right, look at this, we got a Pac-12 4-star corner coming in. This has got to be good. And it's like, it's not always good. Sometimes those players take a little bit longer to develop. So he's not ready yet for the responsibility that he feels he's ready. But it was still cool to see them working. Did you see they worked him out at wide receiver before the game? That's cool. They let him. He returned a kick. Go ahead.
What number was he wearing? Was he wearing 0?
I don't think so, was he?
I swear he was wearing number 2.
Yeah, I don't know. In the chat, what do you guys remember?
So I thought I saw him on the sideline wearing number 2, which tells me he's not he can't play defense because Caleb Tanner's number 2. And I never saw what's his name? Castaneda. He's number 2. So was he potentially going to go in because he's out and I didn't know? Or was he strictly going to be limited to special teams? You can't have the same number on the same side of the ball. So when I saw that, I'm like, I never saw him return the kick. I don't know how I missed that. But back to what you're saying about him, it seems to be kind of common with a lot of these high-end athletes, 4 and 5 stars, and you get it with guys who sit a long time at Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and places like that, where they've gotten where they're at throughout their life because they're so incredibly gifted. They just can't learn and understand schemes very well. And I don't know if that's part of the reason for him, but I mean, because I watched I watched the other defensive backs still not really turn their heads, doing a lot of facing the whole way through. Hartzell got called for a pass interference because of this. He did the same thing, ran through a guy. I felt like the interceptions were, a couple of them were bad thrown balls where safety was able to jump a route, or things like that, where they're not trying to play a tight man on a guy and go downfield. Because I feel like every time our corners are in a tighter man, there's complete disregard to the ball itself and just locked on the guy, running as close to him as you possibly can, and then you're either just barely getting beat or you run through the guy and it's a pass interference. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I know we talked about him missing some chances or some opportunities, like celebrating because he got a tackle, but he played 6 yards deep on a 3rd and 3 and gave up the first down. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, or if they saw a lot out of Hartzog last week that made him want to go with them. But I thought that was interesting, especially considering he's a freshman and you've got, Moore got some time. Singleton got in there for a little bit. I know he's kind of gone back and forth, but mainly safety.
The story from Bush and them is that Hartzog just keeps popping. He's popping in special teams, so they put him in a little bit more. He pops next time they put him in, and they're just finally like, man, he's popping every time. We got to put him in the starting lineup. We got to actually play him. And there's no reason not to make a little bit of a change. I mean, our defense has been trash. Why not? I think everyone was getting chances, right?
Yeah, there's definitely been some newer faces, but it's just a guy that comes in that highly regarded athletic-wise, you think you're finding ways to get him on the field. Maybe that's what they are looking into on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, he came out of high school as a highly touted receiver as well, so that's not crazy. But I don't know, man. I kind of kept going back and forth with myself, like, man, they must really be done with Hill. But then I'm like, I don't know, man. Kid got in last week, did his thing on special teams and had some plays towards the end of the game on defense. So maybe he just won it, but I don't know. I was just curious what you thought, or if you saw that, especially with Tommy Hill not even having number 0, being wearing number 2.
That was interesting. And yeah, we've got Sam says he was wearing number 2. So okay. Good catch on that. I didn't catch that, but I'm pretty certain I saw him return a kick. Can you confirm that, Sam? But yeah.
Did you even watch the game?
I watched the whole thing. It was a fun game, and it sucked in the first half, but I just felt like something had to change, and I'm so glad it did. This game started the exact opposite of the way dude.
Other games just started. They didn't target Trey Palmer until that offensive pass interference at the very end of the first quarter. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into the line play when we talk about Casey. What do you think about, where do you sit with Casey?
Dude, here's the thing about Casey. And I vividly remember this when we did our Casey Thompson breakdown, like right when we got him. It's like you can never count him out. It's like he will have bad moments and have some bad decisions, and he will get crushed by the defense. He will get rocked. It will look like there's no reason for him to be able to come back in the game. But then he will, and he'll keep. It's like he has a very short memory. I'm not very happy with his performance on the whole. I thought he was going to be technically a lot better, but he always comes back. He always plays hard until the end. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how shit he looks sometimes. He comes back and makes you look dumb for thinking he looked like shit.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't think we have the offensive line for the style he wants to play. Now, I'm saying that coming off of 2 wins and him looking good even in some of our losses. But he's the exact opposite of Taylor Martinez or Adrian Martinez or whoever we've had at running quarterbacks, because those guys, the first sign of danger, they take off and run. He needs to learn to step up in the pocket, to maneuver within the pocket if he still wants to throw. But there's multiple times where the pocket's breaking down because we can't. I mean, I'm shocked the few plays when there's a good pocket for him. Like, I'm absolutely astonished. But, I mean, they're showing replays and guys are getting double teamed. Like, our offensive line is double teaming their linemen, and they're still getting to him before he's done with his drop. Or guys coming off the edge and guys put their hands up and they just slap their hands away and go around like they're not even there. Like, I understand that he's under constant pressure, but if he would step up in the pocket and just start taking whatever he can get, he can slide. He don't have to take the hits. He don't have to try and stretch everything into 20-yard gain. He could take 5, 6, 7-yard little gashes. That's going to help keep the defense a little more honest and open up your passing game. But it's also going to stop the towards the end of the game when there was the holding call against Hunter Anthony. Like, he held him, he tried to let up, but he doesn't know that his quarterback is running outside of him as he's trying to protect on the edge. So it's like when he's constantly trying to run outside, now he's running away from where the guy is leveraged to at least attempt to block, and he's putting them in jeopardy of being called for a hold more often than not. And it's like, I understand. I'm not getting piled on by 300-pound linemen all game like he is. I understand. I'm not taking this chance to just shit on him. I'm just saying, like, why isn't that an adjustment? In the third quarter, he took his first run doing exactly that. The pocket was breaking down. He went straight up the middle, got a first down, slid down. I'm like, all right, like, I thought Nebraska did a very good job this week of making second half adjustments, which they never have done for years. Our biggest complaint. I made a lot of money betting against Nebraska on second half lines alone because I knew even if they look good, they're not making adjustments. If they see something, they're not going to adjust to it. Other teams adjust to us, and then that's why we end up blowing these leads and losing close games. But I thought they did a good job with it, and I really thought that's something that they would push more for him to do. And he did that once. I think he might have tried doing it one more time after that, but it's like, dude, you could save yourself from 3 guys piling in on you by just running what you can and sliding. You could save your line from getting called for holds. And it's just, I don't know. And then there's a lot of times when he's under the pressure, he hangs in there and just kind of heaves it. And that's where at least one of the interceptions came from. I think the last interception was like that. Throwing guys short where guys are having to dive back to the ball instead of being able to run with it. It's little things like that. And I know it's not just him. It has a lot to do with the lack of protection he has, but it's just, I feel like a lot of that could be masked and fixed with just, instead of panicking and taking off laterally, just go get what you can get through one of those gaps.
Dion says, I was thinking Casey needs to run a little bit. We're missing a QB run game. And why does Anthony Grant look so slow now and didn't have the moves? I didn't feel like he was necessarily slow. Maybe I interpreted it as the Rutgers defense was just playing really good and wrapping him up and gang tackling. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, defenses are honing in on him more, obviously. I mean, he's the guy you're
Plus, it was a short
week.
week. Thought maybe, just maybe, that had something to do with it.
Maybe, but I mean, like, they kept their nickel kind of off to his side when they could. They didn't play. These other defenses don't play 12 yards off the receivers like we do. So when we have these clear handoffs and different things that aren't delayed or let the play develop before he runs, because you notice, I thought he looked really good when they're throwing to him out of the backfield or on screenplays.
Oh, yeah.
So, but he had a little more room to work with, and he took off early against, Georgia Southern's defense and North Dakota's defense, and very beginning of the year when we didn't even know he was going to be what he was against Northwestern, where he would make guys miss, but he had lanes. He was hitting some of these lanes and making guys miss. We did how many breakdowns where he would kind of go to whatever side Brewington was at, because he would crack back on guys and he'd have a whole side to flow, and he'd either take off on that edge or he'd bounce back if the defense overplayed it and make things happen. Well, now defenses seem to be taking better pursuit angles to where there aren't the cutbacks that he had, and you can only do so much with those jump hops, cuts or jump cuts or whatever and things like that, especially when there isn't a threat of jump cutting to the right side because you've got a guy there or the other side. So I don't know, man. It's just, it could be a little wear and tear on guys with being a short week, but I mean, it's only a day. So I don't think it's that much of a difference from what you see on a week to week, but I just think defenses are seeing that's our bell cow and they're preparing for him more so than a lot of the other guys. And obviously now, so Palmer.
What do you think about Bill Bush's performance? I thought it was, dude, it's been a while since you've seen a team. I mean, we blanked them in the second half. We freaking blanked them. And we held them to a few field goals. Like, that's not a bad performance at all. 13 points, period, is great.
And also situational. coming off that pump block, they were set up perfect, and defense held them to a field goal. That game could have really started to get out of hand if they're able to punch it in there. And like you said, it was a lot of bend but don't break. There was still some issues with missed tackles. There isn't a ton of people missing their gaps any longer. I mean, every once in a while you can find that. Excuse me, but the last 2 weeks, it's not. I mean, the first 3 games, or 4 games, it was every single drive you could find multiple people just all out of whack as far as gap discipline went. And it doesn't jump off at me these last 2 games. And it shows up, it's kind of back to being more of like that bend but don't break type defense where they would get some momentum, they'd move it. You take away that first drive, man. I mean, the defense was pretty solid throughout. I mean, the interceptions were, I thought, just as much a fault of the quarterbacks as it was good defense, but that's what happens. You keep playing as sound as you can, and things like that happen. Fortune goes your way. But I thought my thing I've been most impressed with Bill Bush on is the adjustments. The halftime adjustments I've been begging. You've heard me for years just beg, like, please, can we make 2 adjustments? There's 9 that could be made. Can we make 2 adjustments a game just for the hell of it, just to see if we can turn something around and get some momentum going? And I'm finally starting to see that. So, and he's clearly not afraid to shuffle up the personnel and see who can and will do what. Did Reimer get hurt? Have you heard anything on that?
I have not. Does anybody in the chat know if Reimer got hurt?
It was a play towards the end of the game, running to the sidelines. They ran the ball, or it was a short pass. I can't remember. And he went down, and I thought he grabbed like his leg, like his ankle or knee area, like his lower leg. And then Hausman was in after that. And I don't remember seeing Reimer again after that. I think that was their last offensive drive when they were trying to, extend it and get down before we got it and ended up eating the clock. So I don't know if he would have came back, or maybe he did come back. I don't remember seeing him after that, but I kept listening and watching, and I didn't see anything about him getting hurt. But I thought that was odd that I thought he was hurt, and then nobody said anything. And obviously he was out of bounds on the sideline. So it wasn't like they had to stop the clock. But then all of a sudden, what's his name was in there, and it's like, well, obviously they wouldn't go back to putting him in there on, this is the most crucial drive of the game at this point, where they're trying to get in field goal range and your best tackler's gone. But I don't know. I didn't hear
Sam Matney says he took an x-ray after the game, according to Mick's post-game press conference.
All right.
Appreciate that, Sam with all the info
I know, man.
Possibly need, bro.
Get him on your payroll.
Right. So I like what Daniel Feaster said, or Feaster. He says, Mickey is like a combination of the last 3 coaches. Like Frost, he's a former QB, Husker QB. He's positive like Riley, and he shows passion and energy like Bo. That's kind of dead on.
It is.
What the hell, Daniel? That's exactly right, dude. I mean, I don't want this to be about the last 2 teams we beat, right? Because the last 2 teams we beat, they're not great teams. We shouldn't be, beating on our chest like King Kong over these wins or anything like that. But they are 2 wins, and this one was a close win. I mean, when we snapped the ball at the end and fumbled it at the very end, victory formation.
Yeah.
Didn't you think there was a pretty good possibility that we were going to lose that? They were going to get it and have a chance to kick a field goal or something? I mean, that's how cursed we've been in close game scenarios.
No, I mean, I never thought of that, honestly. I was just like, oh, it was a bad exchange. He fell on it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And if we were watching the game together and you said that, I'd probably like, oh shit, yeah, but it just initially didn't hit me. But now that you say that, there's probably a lot of people thinking that. Like, here we go. I
was terrified. I mean, I didn't feel like the win was safe until I saw them running off the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about Travis Vokalek? He's such a mismatch, bro. He's not the most athletic guy. Like, he don't remind me of George Kittle as far as the wiggle in his hips, but he's big as hell.
That's what I was gonna say. Anthony Grant needs to work with him on just the slightest lateral movement. Like everybody just chops his legs out from under him. It's like, dude, just try even a pretend head fake. Even if we all know you're going dead straight, just make them think that they got to leverage a little sideways or something. Like it's just,
you know what it is?
Gets the ball and goes, and everybody just chops his legs out from under him.
You know what it looks like, bro? It looks like somebody who's just healthy enough to technically be out there playing football, right?
Yeah.
But they're not healthy enough to be making cuts and making people miss.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have him out there as is, because I'm not that impressed this year with Borkature like we were last year. I feel like everything has to go right for Borkature for a situation.
Yeah. Plus, I think he's more of a situational tight end where like I think Brewerton's the best all around tight end we have. He seals off blocks better than Vokalek. There was one that Casey Thompson run I was talking about. When he took off and started going, Vokalek could have blown the one guy up that got to him and given him another gap to keep going. And he just kind of smacks him or swings his arm at him as he runs by. And it's like, how many times do we see Brewington? Like, it's like that's what he wants to do. Like, I felt like it almost got him out of his rhythm, throwing him those 2 back-to-back passes. Like, obviously everybody wants the ball, but he's so good at like not just blocking or getting away, but like he'll take his guy out of the play, whether it's coming around the end and just pinning him back, whether it's plays like last year where that on the touchdown play where he blew that guy up at the goal line. I just love his game, man. And you don't need to, he may not be as good hands-wise as like Vokalek and maybe even Borkature, but you don't have to take him out because you're in a pass situation and only bring him in run situations. Like, I feel like the other guys, Vokalek's big. I don't know, man. I wish it translated to his blocking a little bit better.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, he's great. I'm just trying to think of a tight end that he reminds me of, and it's just like, perfect. Bears Cole Kmet. Yeah. The dude is just tall, long, can catch the ball, but he ain't really going anywhere with it. But
he is a mismatch. I mean, you don't have to worry about putting speed on him. If you put speed on him, he's bigger than the slow guys. Usually a mismatch is like a guy's too big for the smaller speed guys and too fast for the other guys, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, nobody's matching up in that level with his height and size to where he can't be in position, but I just wish he had a little more wiggle to him after he catches the ball. I'm more so because I'm worried about him getting hurt. Everybody just launches at his lower legs, and it's fine if he gets tackled, but
there's times when I expect him to hurdle, and he doesn't even hurdle.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey man, free shot at my feet right here. I'm gonna run directly at you.
Yeah.
If you want to cut him out from under me, I'm not even gonna jump. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk Mickey. Can we?
Yeah. Ready to hire him full time?
You tell me, man.
Tell you what I think, or tell you what I think they should or is going to happen?
All of the above.
I want Mickey to pan out. Like, if I had my choice, he'll pan out this year and do enough or be enough that they keep him. I think he means too much to the guys already there, the recruiting class we already have coming in. He has a proven track record of being able to not only recruit but develop guys, get them not just to perform and do their thing in college, but to the next level. I just hope that everything pans out with what Trev Alberts and the board basically needs to see for him to stay, and they don't have too much of a grass is greener thing with some of these other coaches or coaching candidates. But 2 games is too small of a sample size. If he came out and had 2 games where we lost close games, you could still argue that they're better than the Oklahoma game. But, well, I mean, this place is a dumpster fire. He's got a lot of stuff to do to turn it around. To me, it's super impressive that he's doing it as quick as he has. But it's Indiana without their top 2 receivers, and it's Rutgers. So, like, let's keep this going.
Yeah, but then counterpoint is I don't want to say we wouldn't have, but it didn't feel like we would have gotten these wins with Frost.
I agree.
Is that fair to say?
But remember what we talk about. Frost isn't the bar. Frost was nowhere near what the bar is to make people forget what the bar is. right? So like when we're doing these coaching video or coaching candidate videos, the breakdowns, and Iowa State fans and Baylor fans and everybody's ripping us because they kicked the shit out of Nebraska. They're way better coach than Frost and blah blah. It's like, yes, I agree. But where you're at is not where Nebraska wants to be at. Nebraska has lofty goals of competing for and winning Big Ten titles. I don't being a step above Frost isn't that, right? So like he has to show that he's past Frost and he's still going by the time the season ends. Like he's still, his stock isn't at its high point, but it's rising. That's what's going to get him the job. So he has to steadily keep this going. And that doesn't mean he can't lose to, you know, I'd be shocked if they beat Purdue. That's next week, right? We did them videos, man. I was mixing everything up. I had all kinds of stuff wrong. But I'd be surprised if we beat them. I'd be surprised if we beat Minnesota. I don't see any way in hell we beat Michigan. And Wisconsin and Iowa aren't what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. I think those are definitely doable, especially that much farther down the road where you can keep developing guys and keep building. But I just don't think that the 2 games against these teams is enough. I wish it was. I like if they came out tonight and said that, hey, Mickey's the guy, I'd be happy. But I don't think for those guys it's going to be enough. They're going to take the full season to really see what he does, make sure things either stay somewhere, keep going up or keep going down, or what the potential is before they pull the trigger on him, especially when, you know, you've got a buffet of all these candidates supposedly that they're going to be hard to turn down Nebraska Big Ten money.
Yeah, we got 6 tough games coming up, bro.
Yeah.
Holy cannoli. Well,
they're all going to be tough, man. Like, I mean, you could say Illinois maybe it might not be as bad, but I don't know. It's not. It's all Big Ten games. They're all going to be. Look how tough this game was.
Right. My boy, Jacquez Yant, starting to get some carries. Did you think he deserved? Do you think he earned more, or do you think they need to roll Gabe Ervin back out there?
I'm kind of on the same page as Mickey. If this guy's working, and I think all week long in practice he's my best guy, I'm just rolling with him. If he gets hurt, that sucks. I hope it doesn't happen. But I'm not going to be so careful about keeping a guy healthy that I'm putting out less talent and risking losing games like this. So
who are you worried about getting? Who's he worried about getting injured?
Well, sorry, I was prefacing this by saying that I don't really care who comes in after Grant as long as Grant is getting the vast majority of the carries. If Yant proved himself in practice, or it's just his time on the carousel, they just rotate him. Next week's gonna be Ervin, because last week Yant had the touchdown and I think 1 or 2 carries, and wasn't it Ervin too last week?
Yeah, Ervin got some carries, but Yant got that goal line touchdown.
Right. So, and I mean, they talk going in, and it's obvious. I mean, Rutgers is more of a physical team than Indiana. Indiana was more the tempo team. So it makes sense, you know, when you're taking Grant out, a guy who can literally do everything that you want from a running back, you go with the more solid bruiser type back. Maybe next week is Purdue, right? I don't want to keep screwing that up.
Next week is Purdue.
So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, as pass heavy as they are, especially if we can get some quick 3 and outs where he's going to need to be spelled a little more. If you do go with Ervin a little bit more, I don't think they're quite as physical as Rutgers is. I think they're more talented, but I mean, I don't want Grant to get hurt, so I'm fine seeing these other guys with carries, but ultimately I really don't give a shit who replaces him. If it was up to me and I was playing a video game, I'd be like, I'm putting this guy in every time. Oh, he's tired. I'm gonna call timeout, and now he's gonna come right back out.
Call timeouts just to rest Anthony Grant and then put it back in, because you don't want to risk 1 carry not going to him. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
What did you think? I know you like Yant, but I mean, what are we ever gonna see Ramir Johnson again, or is he just gonna transfer?
Dog.
He's got to transfer, right?
I'm shocked he hasn't already, and I feel so bad for him.
That's my guy. You know that.
He was such a stud. And did you know that Yant is a walk-on? Or is he just a former walk-on? Did they get that wrong?
No, he was a walk-on. I don't know that he still
I was going to
is.
say, he shouldn't be a walk-on anymore, but yeah. That's a part of the whole allure for Yant for me. Big reason I like Yant so much is because he just seems like he loves us so much. And it seemed like he was destined to leave last season after he got moved out of the lineup a little bit. Not only did he say F that, he just started working a lot harder, got in better shape, stuck around, has just been like such a good attitude for the team. And he's big as hell, man. I love big running backs, but the thing is, like they say, you know, a Chrysler 300 looks like a Bentley until a Bentley pulls up. And Anthony Grant is that Bentley. He pulls up and you go, oh, okay. I see why Yant's not starting. But Gabe Irvin's got plenty of good moves. I'd like to see him get some more carries, but I'm with you, man. I just want Anthony Grant. I want Anthony Grant to touch the ball as many times as possible. And I really, really enjoyed those screen passes and those little flare routes where we started kicking it out to him in the flats.
Yeah, I wish one of the guys, I don't feel like they really get enough carries. Gant kind of did today, but I wish one of the guys would stand out a little more like Allen did, so that there is somebody that you're more comfortable splitting carries with, so he's not taking such a beating. But I mean, if he's going to look that good comparatively, you know what I mean? You notice when he's not in there, Nebraska's not good enough to say, well, we got to keep you on the bench, keep you healthy. Well, we've got other guys. Like, you need all hands on deck right now to beat Rutgers, you know what I mean? So it's not going to get easier.
Think about it this way too, bro. I mean, if you're Anthony Grant, how likely are you coming back to Nebraska next season? He's been in college football for like already four seasons now, right?
Has it been that long?
I mean, he's been, I mean, okay, maybe 3. If anybody knows in the chat, please correct me. He's been in college football circuit for minimum 3 years, I believe. He's
like this being his 3rd year, because I'm talking about State?
Yeah, he had like a Florida State year, then he went and he played some JUCO, and now so this is minimum his 3rd year, if not his 4th.
Yeah, and
running backs only have the time that they do to play. Why would everybody knows about him? Everybody knows he's a freaking stud. All he has to do is go put down a nice 40 time, and he's going to get taken in the draft. Why not just go?
Yeah, but where? It's going to depend on where he's projected to go in the draft. Because, I mean, running backs are kind of a dime a dozen as far as the NFL is concerned anymore. Every team, except for maybe 3 of them, have 2 to 3 that they use a game. They shuffle them in and out every couple of years. They don't seem to last that long, unless you're Derrick Henry or McCaffrey or some of the top backs. So I mean,
can I be honest, man? And maybe this is just recency bias, but I truly don't think it is. I'd put up Anthony Grant against any running back we've had in a long time.
You think where would you put him with Burkhead and Abdullah?
I would rather. Oh, dude, and this is the thing, bro. Like Rex Burkhead is like my man crush, on top of one of my favorite Huskers of all time. But if it came down to just the 2 of them running backs wise, I think I pick Grant. And with Abdullah, bro, I think it's like a dead heat, and I might pick Grant. Talk me down.
No, I mean, I don't know that I can. I don't think that one guy's success is equal to another's, but I mean, those 2 to me are our top backs since back when we cranked out running backs nonstop that really stand out. And Burkhead's been nice in the NFL, but not what I thought he would be. Abdullah definitely hasn't been what I thought he would be in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, but I would argue that those guys had, as bad as I thought those lines were, better lines to run behind than Grant does. So, yeah, who knows? You put him in the pros with an actual line that he could run behind. Maybe he is nice. But I'm just saying, like, all of that potential and, well, theoretically and talking that, to me, it's going to come down to where does it look like he can be drafted at? And if we continue to build and we add some stuff and say we come back with a better overall team and a better offensive line, if he can improve his draft stock, I think it would be foolish for him not to come back one more year.
And I'm not trying to be I'm not
He's
trying
playing
to
a position where injury is a thing.
yeah.
So yeah, if you can go, you're probably gonna go. But I don't know, man.
I'm not trying to be a dick and be like, hey, we're only going to have him 1 year, give him the ball over and over and over, run him down, use up all of his juice. But it's like, we're only going to have him for 1 year. We might as well get the most out of him we can that's safe, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even so much that is, like I said a minute ago, we're just not that good.
Our line isn't that good.
But I'm saying we need legit, whoever the best guy is. You know, when you play fantasy football on like the apps that have the estimated points this each guy's going to get.
Yeah.
Nebraska has to make sure that by every 10th of a point they can gain that guy's in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to come down to these close games where you need every little extra advantage you can find. So they can't afford to not run him into the ground, so to speak. Not that they're trying to run him into the ground, but I mean, it's just kind of like, hey, sorry, man. We hope everything pans out for you from here to the rest of your life. But for us, we've got to run the piss out of you if we're going to have a chance to win any of these games.
Why don't you do some I see a report card. All right.
I can't see the grades.
Well, you don't have to because you're going to be the one doing the grading.
I'm not.
What do you give our run game tonight?
Oh man. Grade wise?
Yeah.
A D probably.
Really?
Maybe a C minus.
Okay.
I think if we implemented some more quarterback run game, it would have been a B or an A minus. I think we could have ran all over them if we would have made the defense worry about the quarterback run game, or just not put ourselves in so many second and third and longs by either taking sacks or committing holds or not executing or not utilizing the quarterback run game. But when it's pretty much a pro style run or no run game at all, it makes it very easy to defend, or a lot easier to defend. I don't care how good your running back is, especially with that line. When the line is getting to a point like tonight, I don't remember if I was texting you or I was texting somebody else, but there's just no lanes. There aren't any lanes for him to run through anymore. And usually if you don't have lanes, the O-line can at least move the line of scrimmage a little bit. There's none of that. It's just a mess right at the line of scrimmage or a yard in the backfield. And your running backs, as good as Grant is, even Yant, you want him to power through people. It's like, where? You don't want him to move four guys. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no push. There's no push. There's no lanes to go.
Yeah. There's no blockers getting into the into the secondary at all. There's no blockers moving up the field.
No, and when they
making connection with people.
And if they do, if that is their focus is getting to the second level, they don't make the chips or the pins on the other side or, behind that to let the running back get out of the backfield. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, we got to the second level. Yeah, you got to the second level, but all four of the defensive front guys were right there as soon as the guy got the ball. So it's like, I don't know, man. There just wasn't much developing for the run game, I didn't feel. You could almost put it below a D if you want.
I'd give it like a C minus just because of the effort of the running backs.
That's what I'm saying.
You got graded down for the offensive line, but the running backs played their asses off. And I truly believe that moment where Anthony Grant ran that dude over and trucked his soul out of his body, that was when the momentum changed for us. And the Huskers seemed like they woke up like, oh, okay, we're going to play, we can play like this. We can actually hit people. Okay. That was running game saved us. So a D just feels a little too low for me. Passing game. I'll go with like a C plus for the passing game.
Yeah, I was going to say about a B. I felt like there was some bigger plays from the passing game. Again, with little to no protection. I thought Casey did all right. Again, if there's a little bit better quarterback run play, I feel like that opens up, especially where he likes to throw those crossing routes in the middle of the field and stuff so much. But that would kind of open up a little bit more, especially the deep balls. If you've got to keep linebackers or somebody worried about the middle of the field if your quarterback keeps taking off. But yeah, I'd say maybe a B minus. It could have been better, but let's be honest, that's probably the thing that saved us on the game in general with our offense. I mean, we weren't doing a lot of just owning the time of possession by grinding the ball out on the ground. I don't know, unless you're counting a lot of those screenplays more as in the run category than the pass category. But I mean, that seemed to work to get Grant loose a lot more, at least, than the runs did.
Offensive line.
I don't think I need to tell you. Like, is there such thing as an F minus, or is it just?
If you want to give him an F minus, I would say that's fair.
Oh man, I feel bad like constantly shitting on these guys, but I mean, come on, dude. You almost got your quarterback.
It's bad, dude. They don't look okay. It's just the same as when you're watching your NFL offensive line, and they don't look like they belong in the NFL. You can tell that your team has signed a group of dudes that should be in street clothes, fighting for a job, to be on practice squads. And it's like we have whatever the college equivalent is to that.
What's the fix there? Is it just guys? Because we've talked about this, man. We talked about, especially when we did like the offensive line preview, they're not just a bunch of scrubs that came out of nowhere or were converted to linemen because we didn't have any. There's a lot of guys that had offers to other schools, came with, the ratings and things like that. Nobody like crazy off the charts, but more than serviceable. And we kind of chalked it up to the scheme was too complicated the last couple of years, and this was going to be a simpler scheme. Get off the ball and smack somebody in the mouth. I know Homeboy had the drug thing, so he can't play. Prohaska's out for the year from an injury, but I mean, he was super struggling.
Things have gotten better without Prohaska. Like, I'm glad Prohaska is gone. I don't want him to be hurt.
Jesus.
I don't want him to be hurt.
Oh, God, dude.
But am I the only one that when he went out, a part of me felt relieved? Don't lie. I don't care if he's healthy or not. I don't want him in there, dude. He's trash. Sorry. Oh, I forgot. We're not calling dudes out by names, except for him. Dude's trash. I think I could get past him. I'm 35 years old. I'm probably 10 pounds overweight, and I still think I could fake his ass out and get to the quarterback. Do you think I couldn't?
I don't know, man. I feel
Ben Hart is worse. That's the problem too. And there are tackles, dude.
I feel like last year Prohaska looked good, and I was excited about him coming back. I feel like coming off that injury, he never played like he did last year before he got hurt. I don't know if he was never fully healthy, if he was timid because of the injury and hesitant of getting hurt again, if he was lost some mobility. I don't know what it was. It seemed like he was a very different player from what little bit he played last year before he got hurt to this year. But I don't feel like there's a lot of other options is kind of what I'm getting at. Like if you go look at the full depth chart, there's a lot of linemen. So if they can continuously keep going with these guys, they're obviously the best we have. So how many different line coaches do you have to go through? How many different schemes do you have to go through? Or how many different strength and conditioning guys would you need to change? Or like, what is it that would get things going to be just a formidable offensive line to run, the basic things that they want to run? Or is it a lost cause? Do you have to completely we added a lot of defensive backs, skill players, things like that through the transfer portal last year. Does this year need to be 12 guys from the transfer portal that can play the line?
Absolutely, dude.
And heavily recruiting. I think we've got 2 recruits right now.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's a tough position to play, man. It's a really tough position to play with the mental part, what you need to know, the gaps, the pulls, the getting into the second level when there's a double team, when there's not, what changes, whether a guy is playing an inside technique to an outside. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. So just getting a big, strong, physical guy that looked good through high school doesn't mean that you're going to get, I think we're seeing that, doesn't mean that it's going to turn out at the next level. So do you have to just say, dude, we're in a bad spot. We've got to go get as much as we can get through the transfer portal for the offensive line.
And Raiola needs to go.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is if these guys weren't working with the previous guy and you bring in a new guy, I mean, I get that it's bad, but does it
mean it's both? Yes, keep trying. Does it look like Raiola's lifting them up to play better than the sum of their parts?
I mean, maybe they are. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. Maybe the lack, for so long, we've gotten and heard about this wide receiver and this running back and this quarterback and this corner and this linebacker or whatever else. When's the last time we've gotten a stud offensive lineman that everybody got excited about, let alone 2 or 3? So, I mean, getting these guys that are like serviceable offensive linemen coming out of high school and then having to throw them into the fire so early, like last year with Prohaska and I can't think of the other guy. But, I mean, you've got guys that – no.
Corcoran?
No, but you just – ideally, you want your offensive linemen to really be able to put on weight and strength, learn the system really well, learn the techniques and all that really well before they go in there. And we're throwing guys in early. It just tells me that it's more of a lack of talent at the position, and you're trying to force guys along earlier than they're ready to go. I don't know how much of that you put on a coach, especially a guy who's been here for, 5 games now? 6 games?
Defense, grade. Because I give the offensive line an F.
Yeah.
Defensive grade.
I'm going to say the defense was a B+, A-. And it's not because I thought it was amazing defense. I think, to your point of what you just said about Raiola, I think Bush has these guys playing better than what they should be playing at.
Yes.
For the new guys in the new positions, not hesitating to throw in freshmen or to change personnel at different levels. It's god-awful as they looked the first few games. I think they played really, really well. The turnovers, the even when things were going bad for the most part, holding them to field goals instead of giving up touchdowns, 100% they kept us in the game. Gave us they didn't allow us to score the second half again. So, yeah, I think that was by far the strong point of the team.
I go B for defense. I want to give him higher than that, but it wasn't until the second half. But still a B after the way the game started. To come back and grab a B is pretty nice. Special teams. I'm thinking, I don't know. Special teams is hard. I'm just glad we're not muffing punts anymore.
Yeah.
That means something to me. And then watching field goals go through, watching these extra points go through.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's
such a low bar. It's such a low bar.
I want to see some of these guys return some. We keep hearing about the athletes that can return and this and that. And I know a lot of it, they're running up and trying to make last-second catches and things like that because of the way their punter was pretty good. But maybe some better return protection so we can get some guys some returns. I don't know. I haven't been impressed with the special teams other than the block last week, really most of the year. I mean, being impressed with the defense because they're not screwing up and losing you the game isn't really a standard that I want to go by. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Please feel free to ruffle your notes and just dive in. I'm here to learn.
I don't know, man. Were you able to pull any plays?
Not yet, because the highlights hadn't come out yet. We're going to do, obviously, a more extensive film breakdown when we get the plays. But
I'd say other than like some of the plays and stuff, I kind of said most of what I thought. I thought that the Tommy Hill situation stood out to me a lot. Because even when Hartzog was getting burnt, they were going after him, and then he had the pass interference. They went to Brandon Moore. They didn't go to him. And it was way after that when I saw he was wearing number 2. But so I'm guessing they couldn't have if they wanted to. But I really, really liked the second half adjustments, and I really like that those guys don't seem to care who's out there. Like they're not going to hesitate to pull guys that are supposed to be the guy at whatever position. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I wish they would. I don't want to come off like I'm shitting on Casey. I wish they would pull him every so often and put a guy in that's going to run. Like I really wished I was hoping when he got hurt that Smothers was going to come in instead of Purdy.
Where is Smothers, bro?
I just imagined that Purdy was going to come in and do the exact same thing that Casey was doing. And I think we desperately needed even just the slightest, just the threat of a quarterback run game to really open up and get things moving on the offense, especially with the struggles the offensive line has. And that didn't happen. And then with the halftime deal, I'm just like, please tell this dude to come on the second half, take his drop, and if the pocket's caving, run forward. Don't run outside the pocket. Don't try stretching the play out. Just go get what you can get. There was lanes and gaps and cushion for him to get, 3 to 7 yards almost every single time if he wanted it. And instead he's taking sacks or he's waiting to the last second and just kind of lobbing a ball up for grabs as he's getting hit, getting outside of the pocket. Guys are holding. I don't know, man. That's something I still want to see. Like I hope going forward that they implement some kind of run game through the quarterback, whether that's with a different quarterback every so often on certain drives or him, having him run. I don't have a problem with him running it. We don't need the most athletic guy to go out there and run 60-yard touchdown quarterback run plays like Adrian was doing. We just need somebody who's going to keep the defense honest.
The threat, man. I just want the threat.
To keep the defense honest. And then that'll take a lot of pressure off of your offensive line when your quarterback is going to go right up the gut or through the, the B gap at the least when the pocket's breaking down. And then they can just, hey, okay, let him go. You know what I'm saying? Instead of which way is he going? Oh, he's out here. I'm already trying to push a guy out here. Now I got to grab him. And I don't know. It's just, I feel like when your biggest problem is your offensive line, you've got to be able to manipulate the pocket better to try and help them out a little bit, which I know it sounds crazy. Your offensive line is supposed to be protecting and helping your quarterback, but we need the quarterback to actually kind of help the offensive line.
Yeah, like not only is he not running out of the pocket, he's not. I mean, you mentioned this to me, but I noticed it as well. I really noticed it after you brought it up. He doesn't move around in the pocket. It's like, dude.
Even just stepping up in the pocket.
Step up, run out, throw it away. Like, I don't care. Like, act like you're, I don't know. I mean, I commend him for, taking the shots that he's taking. Yeah. Do they end up calling that interception back where he took that huge hit and threw a pick on the same exact play? I mean, that was wild, but
I don't remember. Was that the one where they called interference?
It might have been, and it might have came back or whatever, but I don't know, bro. I think Casey Thompson's cool, man. Like, he's not what we thought, but at the same time, he's not as bad as we thought he was in the beginning of the season either. Like, he comes back and steps in there and gets things done. I mean,
for sure. And overall, he's really accurate. I wish he would be more hitting guys in stride. But again, you can't just shrug off the fact that he's literally getting beat up all game long. I mean, he's a football player and he's supposed to be getting hit and stuff like that. But I mean, he's human. After guys 3 times your size are dogpiling on you a couple times in a row, like, you start looking around and feeling that, you know what I mean? You start pressing a little bit. So, I mean, I get it, but I don't know. There's, like I said at the beginning, we're talking about, we're not going to magically start having more talent on the team, which means that the offensive line we have is the offensive line we have. So you've got to figure out ways to help them out. I thought the screen game was a big thing that is going to help your offensive line, and did. It showed gets guys open or out in the open a little bit better. But I think the next step is the quarterback run.
Well said, bro. I mean, we're going to obviously have to make a video about the game, break down some film and everything, but we appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We'll be probably getting a video out tonight, maybe in the morning. Who knows what Gary has time for? He's a busy international man. But, bro, we won 2 in a row. Be happy. Be happy, bro. This is exciting. Like, who knows when this is going to happen again? It probably won't happen again for the rest of the season, so we really got to try to enjoy this. Because it's not just like, oh, yeah, well, we beat some teams we should have beat. We weren't even doing that. It's more than that.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway.
That's what I said, man. This is more to me about Mickey Joseph than it is anything else. Because obviously the dude's trying to keep his job. But things have gotten so bad that you're losing to Sunbelt teams and barely winning against teams like North Dakota. You've got to start looking for that. You know, you got to start looking at the bigger picture, which by looking at the bigger picture, you're looking at smaller things, foundational, you know, very basic foundations of football. No, I'm just kidding. But like, you know what I mean? Like those little things that it's going to build the program so that then you can start getting either better talent or guys that fit the systems you're doing on each side of the ball and at each level, and then worry about trying to compete with the better teams. But like I said last week and going into this week, Nebraska's first step needs to be getting out of Nebraska's way. And I feel like they're making great strides at doing that these last 2 weeks.
I agree, man. We'll see you